Yo! What's going on, guys? This is Grim Reaper bringing you another episode, another session, an additional installment of One Punch Man, chapter 135 review. This chapter was thrilling, to say the least. Now, I have a few points that are going to be pivotal to talk about because I'm not too sure exactly how it's going to fit into the rest of the entirety of the story and what it actually means for what happened in chapter 2 have happened, the true implications of like the past and where it should really like what the picture of One Punch Man right now actually looks like with the exclusion or the inclusion of this character. Even though he's a shadow, even though he barely shows up, he's still part of the picture. So before we begin, if you guys want to support the channel, check out the link in the description for our Discord. You can join the family and talk to us about any topic all the time, especially these videos topic. If you want to support the channel as well, check out the big red button in the corner to subscribe. So let's start off with Drive Night. So we get a few more conclusive points and things that we can be a little bit more sure of, but it's still somewhat speculative. I think we can confidently say that we now know somewhat how much energy Drive Knight's working with on a regular basis. Now, in a previous video, in the live reaction, I came to the quick conclusion that like the amount of the city that he absorbed, the amount of energy he absorbed, was his maximum, but it may not be. It was brought to me to my attention that the quote actually mentioned he's going to take a little bit of energy. So, regardless of what the circumstance or reality may be, I'm going to maintain that this is about what Drive Knight should be able to handle in terms of his power output, but that he may also be able to absorb a little bit more in that instance. So that it's safe to keep it as that. But at the same time, we know to an extent the details of what Drive Knight went through before the actual fight, before the big encounter with the dragon, and before this. We saw that he was actually just committed to some espionage techniques throughout the Monster Association. It didn't necessarily seem as if he was encountering a bunch of monsters along the way, even demons. It didn't seem like he was encountering demons along the way. If he did fight some fodder tigers or something like that, I wouldn't expect all that to expend a lot of energy. But he is somewhat of a droid, if you were to put it in that aspect. It doesn't seem to be a humanoid. It doesn't seem to be like a drone alone. He seems like a droid, an android, if anything. So maybe he does take more energy. Maybe it does require more energy for him to work. Because this feat of energy doesn't change the combat capabilities that we saw from him. Drive Knight himself mentioned that up against Neon, if it wasn't for the prep that he had taken, it would have been a very difficult fight. I mean, he might not even been able to beat him. So to see him do some espionage for a while, take on one dragon, and that was enough to deplete the majority of his energy. And I don't mean to leave out the little fodder fighting that we saw him doing beforehand when Garou actually said the first assault, the first invasion of the Monster Association to the actual cities across all cities, J City, Z City, D City, B City. We saw a bunch of different cities getting attacked by monsters and a bunch of different incidents, from 100 Eyes to Pure Blood to Giant Crow. A bunch of different things were happening in that instance. We saw Drive Knight there too. He encountered Pig God and Child Emperor in their endeavors, but nothing that we saw so far really put him into a perilous situation. Case in point, we affirmed Drive Knight as a dragon capable fighter when he encountered Neon. So the question is, does Drive Knight need all that energy just to do what we saw him do? Or is he now capable of achieving more feats? Feats that he would have been able to do when he was at full power now. Does that mean that certain capabilities of Drive Knight aren't accessible if he doesn't have a certain threshold of energy? What about his strongest form? We know that his transformations are based off of Shogi pieces. Does that mean that his King Shogi piece, or what we presume to be the strongest of the transformations, does that require a minimum threshold of energy? And if he falls below that, is he not able to access that transformation anymore? It's difficult to say, and as you already know, we don't have information to say that, and I don't think we'll get the information to say that even once we get the reviews of those forms. we got the reveal of the other forms previously that he used to defeat Neon, and that didn't necessarily indicate like Drive Knight's. Hey, relax, bro. Drive Knight's full battle capability. Let me show you guys. It's this guy. He's a new one. The puppy in town. Look at the camera right there. Yeah. He's being a jerk though. He won't leave the other one alone. So back to what I was saying. If in the reviews of the previous forms we didn't get an accurate depiction or an accurate reading of what his energy was going to be like, just a variety of his abilities, granted. I'm not sure that if we get the King reveal or any other positioning that we're going to get definitive on this part. The beams that he was throwing that hit the shield, those were pretty powerful, but they didn't seem like world devastating or anything like that Genos couldn't have produced beforehand. I think actually that EC Genos with his Super Incineration Cannon probably put on a bigger display than Drive Knight has so far destructively still. So it just, I guess it paints the picture of Drive Knight's positioning a little bit more clear. The problem is that now he's encountering Sairochi. We've come to somewhat of a consensus that she is weaker, especially with her detachments of the roots that were feeding her energy and blood from all throughout the city and all the other monsters in the base as well. But we don't know how weak Sairochi is right now. Especially with this panel here, this is the stipulation and the speculation that's arrived. This is obviously a great feat. Not only was the majority of multiple city blocks, but the area that Drive Knight was in already had pretty much a good area, a good sized area that wasn't small. It was about 2 or 3 city blocks, but now an entirety of the city, maybe a portion of the city, maybe even as far as you can see, as far as the eye can see, lost power due to Drive Knight's absorption capabilities. Does this also mean that if you send an attack at Drive Knight, an energy-based attack, you should be able to absorb it? We haven't seen him in combat against it. We saw him in combat up against an agile, sheer force user with Neon's claws and his flame retribution techniques, but never against energy beams. So, how weak is Sairochi compared to Drive Knight right now? And like, because Drive Knight's been matching her like beams, should we upscale Drive Knight? Should we downscale Sairochi? What does this really mean? That's the dilemma that comes from this chapter and from the interference of Drive Knight in general within 134 and I believe 133 as well. Drive Knight's not the strongest guy out there. We've seen what seems to be close to his limit up against Neon. So what else? What else can Drive Knight really do? One of the other big points of the chapter that Murata and One did really well. A lot of the character development that's been forced in the story so far through redraws and retcons has been really mediocre and it doesn't fit exactly well. We do have exceptions, but the majority of the characters have not been improved with these retcons and redraws. But Amai Mass is maybe initial exploration or initial expansion. I don't know if this is like a reiteration of the webcomic or if there's more added to it, but Amai seems to have some pretty strong growth going. We even went as far as to yield or sacrifice the greatness of his fight up against Gums. This guy's annoying. The greatness of his fight up against Fiora Ugly, all the feats and all the craziness that we were supposed to see, all the hype that everybody was putting on Amai Mass, got none of it. The fear of ugliness petrified. And I am using petrified with its original true intent. He couldn't do anything. He sat there screaming. It was sad. Now, although he did tank quite a few attacks, Amai Mask can't defeat ugliness. And I don't know why. We have many different theories, and we have a lot of weird information to decide that. We've talked about it in the podcast and in previous reviews and in live reactions. But Amai mask, his face breaking apart with the stab of Dos S is the biggest wrench in the equation. But at the same time, it's been heavily alluded to for a while now that there may be more to Amai than we initially led on to believe. With the veins always popping up, his like tendency to resist extreme anger, his tendency to become angry in the quickness. Like, it's not as if we're directly implying with these suggestions that Amai mask may be an Ugmon similar to Fury Ugly, but this seems like an affinity weakness, something that's like in particular for Amai and his capabilities, something that restricts him or that counteracts his power directly. So it would almost be fitting that Amai can't deal with something that looks exactly like him. Maybe he's self-conscious about his own ugliness, about his own detestable appearance, that to see and be confronted by a true Ugmon or original Ugmon or something that may be in his past just took him out of combat. I actually believe that Amai may be as ugly as the Ugmon myself because of those implications. Because he's a movie star, he has that little like fat, that mask like porcelain or whatever it may be that's covering his face or his true face or whatever, making him look beautiful. I don't think it'd be crazy to think that Amai mask's appearance is a facade. But his personality isn't. And it's the first time where I actually want to give credit to Amai because I usually trash him. I'm not going to skip ahead and make the connection with Blast and the Neon, but when he said that he had self-control and that he was going to be able to overcome the Child Emperor confrontation and the entire situation of humiliation amongst the heroes with self-control, it really made me respect him a lot more, because that's not only a trait that I myself try to strive to utilize and be great at and master, but like in general, discipline is the key for everything. Like, I don't know if you guys realize it or not, but the entire point of Saitama's 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups. Relax, guys. 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, and all the different workouts, the mile run every single day. It's just to push the point of discipline, repetitive discipline. If you're going to force yourself to do something as simple as that and not fail and be rigorous in your effort for it, you're going to achieve great heights. That's the entire point of that metaphor. So to see Amai prove that he has his own version of self-control, of discipline, is going to be interesting to see. Hey, is his discipline going to also manifest in the physical realm? Like, is that why he doesn't bust out into a monster? Does he have like a Hulk-like aspect to his character? Is he a Jekyll and Hyde derivative? Like, storytelling is really dynamic, and One and Murata are also very, very dynamic. So it wouldn't surprise me to see discipline be what's holding the Jekyll and Hyde character from Amai. We saw the suggestion that he's made twice now, up against individuals who are either neutral or his exact allies. Whether it's killing the Narinki's support team. Relax. Whether it's killing Narinki's assault squad or rescue team, or whether it's trying to take on the heroes because they saw and basically turn them down. He's aggressive, quick. So self-discipline is probably the best tool that he has. Speaking of the other heroes, it's confirmed that people were listening to the transmitter. We've touched a little bit on the development that Amai could have as a character. But what about his stance in the series? I personally don't necessarily like Amai's gatekeeping reputation or job that he has in the association, limiting those heroes who could possibly come into the S ranks through his evaluation only. We don't know exactly what reason he got the credit for it. I think it was like, I'm not sure exactly. I don't think it was mentioned exactly in the manga yet. But he's stuck up. There's a reason why he's hated in the community. It's not just because people want to downplay him. He's hated for a reason. One is trying to show us or give us dislike for this character for a purpose. So, who else is going to dislike Amai now? We know the heroes already disliked him. They worked with him personally. They saw how he was amongst them all the time. Pooty Pooty, Atomic Samurai, Flashy Flash. None of them get along with Amai Mask. Zombie Man even mentioned that he was annoying, almost got in his face, and Child Emperor just doesn't want to deal with him. He showed that here as well. He was relieved that Amai didn't fight back as hard as he usually does. Will the fans still love him? The reason why he resorted to that is because of the fans. So, will the fans still love Amai if word gets out? Will he still have the reputation? Will he still have his job? Will he still be a movie star? There's a lot more things in jeopardy because of this information leaking out than what we're like talking about. And some things may change for Amai Mask after this arc. I actually want to see more things change in the world after this arc. Like the setting of ZC and hopefully what happens there. But let's move on to the reason why you're hearing this video. The best part of the chapter, and arguably the best part in a long time. I know people have complained about the length of the Tatsumaki fight. Blast. How do I put this? Like, my feelings are so mixed. This is a flashback, so I can't necessarily express my disdain for him not showing up for the alien invasion or for the instances here. That's probably what got me riled up, that like seeing him show up, but then he's not really here. It's just a flashback of Amai. It's cool to get the review of his character design. I don't necessarily like his outfit. It's too big, All Might-ish type. But I have a strong feeling that we're going to get a redesign when he actually shows up. Like, when he actually shows up, it'll be much different than what it is. That's not only the case with Darkshine and a bunch of characters that we saw in the beginning in the first S-Class meeting. Like, the heroes that didn't involve themselves in the fight up against Melzigard when the Dark Matter Thieves invaded. Like, those heroes got somewhat redesigned, especially Darkshine. He looks incredibly different now. But I just think that, like, it'll probably be a different situation, or, like, that memory is probably Blast back then. So we have no real reason to just concrete believe that the Blast that we saw in this picture is the true design of Blast. But I think his body shape, his physique, his figure is going to be consistent. He's cock diesel, bro. He doesn't look as big and as buff as Darkshine, but I bet he's a lot stronger than Darkshine, which is funny. I want to see more. I want more. I don't know of a time where there will be more. Right now is the time for it. And unfortunately, just like we haven't gotten another Boros situation for Saitama to really show his stuff, I don't think we'll see another Tatsumaki situation for her to show her stuff for a while either. Maybe not as long as Saitama's taken. Maybe it will be longer than that because she's a side character, not a main character. Excuse me, main character. But if he doesn't show up now, which he shouldn't because Cyberrochi's already been downscaled, there's probably not any more hope to see Blast for another additional long time period. Or at the 135th chapter. I know we've heard his whispers and tales of this individual's feats and his capabilities. We've heard excuses as to why he doesn't show up. But I'll say this. This arc was a true escalation. A real escalation. There was nothing in my mind that made me believe that a part of the Earth would be cut in this arc or in this story. We will most likely reach even greater heights and even greater capabilities and feats in the series to come, especially with stronger heroes. Tatsumaki's number 2. Number 1 will probably pull out some crazier stuff than even this. So, it's definitely plausible and it's definitely within the realm of reason. But Amai doesn't seem too fond. And I don't know why, bruh. Like, why? Like, you have a flashback of this guy, and then you slam your head on the ground as hard as possible, continuously, which is once, I guess, but like, what were you trying to like force that memory out of your head? Like, did you hate seeing that picture? Like, why is an image of Blast assisting you and saying you're alright? Is the pinnacle of help? Like, the guy, let's say, was. It's just so many different scenarios that could be the case. Like, is it because this Blast had more popularity than Amai? I would assume so. I don't think I remember hearing Amai being the most popular hero. So if Blast is the most popular hero, then like that could be something that like may have happened. Maybe they were both in the spotlight, and then Blast came in and handled a monster that Amai just couldn't handle. Maybe it was an Ugmon, it's like that time, and then in the public eye, Blast helped him. But I think we would have seen that stain on his reputation be manifested in the public eye. He's still running concerts that are the greatest ever. He's still seemingly the most popular hero as of the rest of the heroes. So like, I don't think it's that. Did Blast save him? And him like made him question his power? Like because he thinks he's the strongest Blast? He doesn't have the demeanor. He talks shit to Atomic Samurai, Flashy Flash, Zombie Man, even King for a second. Like Child Emperor too. Like all those people, everybody I just mentioned, without a doubt, is beating Amai Mask so far right now in the series. So it's not as if he doesn't often talk shit to individuals that are much stronger than him. But it just doesn't make sense. I don't have another reason to bring out. This is where the One Punch Podcast. Make sure you guys check that out. The session should be coming out in a few days, probably like 4 or 5 days. I'll let you guys know. On there, we'll be able to contrast a bunch of different ideas and varieties of opinions, and a variety of opinions on why Amai did that. Because I just don't know why Amai would want to force the image of Blast out of his head. What did Blast do to Amai Mask? Your guess is as good as mine. Alright, guys. That's going to be it. Make sure you drop your opinions on the chapter and your overall rating, 1 through 10, in the comment section below. And let me know what do you think about Blast's design. We'll be asking a poll question about it as well. Stay tuned. See you boys next time. Yo ho ho!